And here we go. Welcome in to another edition of Bucky and BK. Today is Monday, July 27th, 2026. And the Buck and I are with y'all for the next 2 hours. On today's show, the SEC preseason poll is out. We'll give our thoughts on where Texas fell in the 16-team Southeastern Conference. The Big Ten preseason poll is out. Where did Ohio State land? And we'll talk about our expectations for the two best conferences in college football. We've got more sound from Steve Sarkisian's appearance at SEC Media Days in Tampa last week. Is this the best team that Steve Sarkisian has had in his 6 years in Austin? We'll let you hear from the head coach, plus plenty more. We've got some stories from the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball to dive into as well. We are locked and we are loaded. We are ready to roll on a Monday program. We hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. We appreciate y'all starting your weeks off with us. How are you today, my man?
I am feeling fabulous. Nice, hot, sticky weekend, of course, but no rain and no rain in sight, folks. Could be some record-breaking temperatures this week. Lots of sun. Lots of fun here in the fun state, but it was nice. It was a nice weekend. You know, it wasn't totally ridiculous. Well, it's July now. It's supposed to be hot. Now we're getting towards the end of July, so it's almost August. It's supposed to be hot. So there's no complaint of the heat for me. I'm ready to go. But no rain in sight kind of bothers me a little bit. Other than that, it's all good, brother.
Yeah, we've had more than enough rain, I would argue. I mean, the lakes are full for the first time in years. We need more?
Overfull at times. The daggum lake has been closed.
Yeah.
Downtown, Lady Bird Lake, that thing was closed. Up there by the dam was closed. My man Paulie was bumming out. Couldn't get the duck boats on the lake. He was very upset. He had a big interview with KView to complain about it, that people don't understand that there's a difference between Town Lake and Lake Buchanan. That it's different. The size, the depth is different. He said he's been doing this for 40 years. And there's no reason why the lake had been closed for a week. All the stuff is done running off. It's, the guy was losing like 10 grand a day.
That's brutal right there.
So yeah, he knows. And if there's anybody that knows the waterways, he's been doing this for 45 years. So
no doubt. Yeah, it's hot. So, I'm thinking of Texas football starting fall camp 8 days from today. Next Tuesday will be the first day of fall practice. Now, they've been doing summer conditioning and workouts, so they've been out in this heat. But eventually the pads are going to come on, and the weather's not really going to cool down. So it's going to be brutal for those guys.
Yeah, remembering back to those days, it's just a matter of you fighting for every bit of shade you can find during the course of that, drinking all the water, being properly hydrated, eating really, really well, and getting your rest. I was never one, I've always been a go to bed early guy, except for when I was a coach. I stay up late on Friday nights, Saturday nights, but it is, tilting them back. But as a player, man, I go to bed early, and I still get up early. I can't sleep anymore. As you'll find out as you get older, sleeping till 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday or 10 o'clock, that'll go away, which is, I want to sleep so bad right now at my age, BK, till like 9 in the morning on a Saturday. Let me just sleep till I can't do it.
No,
I don't know.
Either.
And it's not just that stinking rooster next door to me. It's just that my body, it's like my eyes pop open and it's like, okay, it's still kind of dark out, but isn't there something you could be doing? I'm like, there's nothing to do. Just go to sleep. Well, then again, you went to bed at 8:30 the night before. It's time to get up.
Yeah, you do sleep like 10 hours a night, so I don't know if you need any more than that.
I used to be able to do back in the day when I had to go in and do 6 a.m. in the morning. I would get 3:30. I would be up at 3:30 in the morning, ready to go.
Yeah.
And now it's just. Then I still couldn't sleep on the weekends, but that's all right. A lot of people can't sleep. Hey, just happy to be here. That's important, isn't it? That's a big deal each and every day, and I thank God every day I get a chance to do that. I do appreciate that for sure. Good day to the soldiers at Fort Hood, Texas, soldiers in the state of Texas, and all those that fight for us each and every day. Thank you. We appreciate what you do for all of us. And we appreciate you sharing, your family sharing you with all of us also. And do be safe out there, please.
Yes, indeed. So more takeaways from SEC Media Days last week. And we'll start with the SEC preseason poll, which was unveiled Friday afternoon. Buck, do you care to guess where the Texas Longhorns landed in the SEC preseason poll here in 2026?
Number 2 behind Georgia.
Bingo. Dead on. The Georgia Bulldogs, the back-to-back champions of the SEC, they were picked to finish first, receiving 88 first-place votes out of a possible 164. So this was far from a unanimous selection, but Georgia picked to finish first. Texas right behind them, the Longhorns landing 57 first-place votes, and nobody else in the league landed more than 6 first-place votes. So it kind of felt like the theme of last week in Tampa was it's Georgia and Texas and everybody else, and the voters agreed. You had a few other teams landing, again, first place nods here and there, but a sizable gap between 1, 2, and everybody else. But Georgia, number 1. Here's the good news from a Texas perspective, and I guess this is good news if you root for any of the 15 teams not named Georgia in the Southeastern Conference. The SEC has had a preseason poll for 34 years, Buck. In only 10 of those years, the preseason winner went on to actually win the SEC. Unfortunately, last year, Texas was not one of those 10. The Longhorns were picked to win the conference in 2025. They did not. So maybe it's good news, perhaps a little bit of a curse that comes when you are pegged as the preseason favorite in this league. Maybe irrelevant for this year, but there's your silver lining if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, Georgia's not afraid to be number 1. They don't mind. It doesn't bother them. You know, that it shouldn't bother them. You know, they've got
because Kirby Smart will always find a way to motivate his guys, right? Like he's going to say, his team was picked to finish first place, but he's going to say, we only got 88 first place votes out of 164. That means there's this many people out there who don't think you're good enough. They don't think you're worth anything. So you better prove them wrong.
And half of the writers are from your own area, he's going to tell them.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This guy, we played the clip last week where somebody asked a question about the Georgia wide receiver room, because on paper, that's Georgia's biggest weakness this year. And somebody's like, hey, what do you think of your wide receiver room? And how do you combat maybe not having enough there? And he's like, well, I'm going to tell them you just asked that question. They read what you say. They hear what you say. And they're going to be extra motivated because you just asked me that. So thank you very much. So he'll find a way. He'll make stuff up. We've seen it.
Sure.
He will make stuff up to get his guys geared up. So look, I think Georgia should be number 1. To be the best, you got to beat the best. They've been the class of this league. And I know Texas doesn't play Georgia in the regular season, but I've got a pretty strong hunch, Buck, that if the Longhorns are going to win the SEC for the first time in their 3rd year, they're going to have to get by Georgia in the SEC title game in Atlanta.
Yeah, we'll have to eat the dogs for sure. There's no doubt about it before it's all said and done.
See, I'm afraid to play that drop because every time we play it, Texas loses. We need a new drop to talk about beating Georgia.
I know, no doubt about it. Who came in 3rd and 4th? That's very interesting to me. Is LSU and Mississippi in there?
Ole Miss was number 3.
Okay.
Texas A&M, number 4.
Wow.
And LSU rounds out the top 5, followed by Alabama at 6, Oklahoma at 7, Tennessee at 8, Florida 9, and Missouri 10. We don't need to go through the rest of the teams.
No.
So there you go. The Longhorns obviously don't have to play number 1, Georgia. They don't have to play number 2 because they are number 2, but they've got to play number 3, number 4, number 5, number 7, number 8, number 9, and number 10 in the SEC preseason poll. And a lot of those games are obviously on the road. You get number 3, Ole Miss at home, but you got to go to number 4, A&M, to number 5, LSU. The Oklahoma game is obviously in Dallas, and then number 8, Tennessee. That's another road trip that you've got to make. So look, it's just more proof of something we've talked about, and every Longhorn fan already knows it is a very difficult schedule. And just based on the expectations for this league this year, the Longhorns will have earned their spot into Atlanta should they get there in early December.
Yeah, I would put LSU as 3 for me. behind Texas.
Okay.
The more the summer goes on, the more I'm thinking, boy, I know it's different when you get new coach, new staff, all these new players coming together trying, but boy, that's a talented group. And I think their coach is, he's a little eccentric, but I think he's good enough with that talent to make some things happen. I mean, if the kid from Arizona State is healthy and ready to play at quarterback and he's not
Mhm.
lame, boy, they'll be tough. They just bought a really nice team.
They did. They hit the portal hard. It's the best portal
Yeah.
class in history. Obviously, the portal hasn't been around that long, but look, it's
I think
LSU, so
just
they had some talent.
people just want to hate that coach so bad. They got to think that he's going to find a way to screw that up in year number
Well,
one.
I think the reason they're in the top 5 in the deepest conference in the sport is because people think Lane's a great coach. Yeah, there's a lot of people who hate him. Obviously, you've got multiple fan bases in the SEC that hate him. Tennessee still does from when he left them like a decade and a half
Yeah,
ago. Obviously, Ole Miss does now, maybe more than anybody else. So people don't like the guy, but I think most people regard him as a top 10 coach in college football. So now, if it was somebody else taking over at LSU, I don't know if the Tigers would be getting as much love as they're getting. It's
yeah,
just it's so much new. It's hard. Anytime it's a coach in year one, it's hard to predict exactly what things are going to look like. And then again, you have more than 40 portal additions coming in. The variance there is very strong. So I understand there's some people who voted LSU to win this league this year. And I'm sure there were some people who had them like 9th or 10th because you just don't know.
yeah. I'm on that end of it's just too much talent. Sometimes the talent outweighs the coaching. But with this guy, he could screw it up too. I mean, he's got a way of screwing things. He has a way of screwing things up, or just creating havoc. With it. And if you're the guy who's creating the havoc and you're the head coach with all these new guys, that can be disastrous.
Yeah, and Lane Kiffin's been a little different this offseason. Like, he hasn't been tweeting. I mean, for years, it wasn't always the stuff he would say at press conferences. It was what he was
Right.
posting online, and I don't think this was his decision. My guess is someone at LSU is like, "Dog, please stop." But he has
Yeah.
not been online. He's not been tweeting. He hasn't been posting. So he's been more subdued. It's almost like the opposite of Steve Sarkisian. Not that Sark is a big social media guy, but like this has been the most talking we've heard from Steve Sarkisian in an
Right.
offseason. And Lane Kiffin, obviously Sark and Lane have a relationship. Lane Kiffin's kind of been quieter than he's ever been. And he didn't say anything super crazy or outlandish
No.
last week in Tampa either. So I don't know if it's again, LSU telling him to keep it down a little bit, or he's just like, you know what, I'm going to really focus on ball. I know what the expectations are down here, even though it is my first season. Like, I better be locked in and get this thing right. I don't know, but it's been a little bit different of a Lane Kiffin. We'll see if he can actually do that throughout the course of a season, but something worth monitoring. And I know a lot of college football people have been a little surprised to see it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you want to be known for your coaching instead of your media savvy or stupidity or whatever it is with him. So yeah, I would think the first year he got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
As you said, when you get the kind of turnover that he has in players, you got a lot of work to do. You got no time to be the social butterfly that dude likes to be.
All right. And I think it irks him a little bit that Ole Miss went on that playoff run without him. Like, he won't say
Yes.
that publicly, but these coaches have egos, right? Like,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
convinced Nick Saban wants Kalen DeBoer to fail. I mean, we saw the way Mac Brown left. Like, I don't think a lot of these coaches want their successors to be better than them.
They want to
So,
be missed. They always want to be
right.
missed.
And Lane Kiffin is the opposite of missed, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of his extra motivation this year is to make Ole Miss fans miss him. Obviously, that game between LSU and Ole Miss in Oxford in week 3 is going to be massive. Any other thoughts for you on this preseason poll? Again, Ole Miss number 3. I know you're high on the Rebels too. Texas A&M at number 4. That's probably higher than hell. We filled out one of these things last week. That's
Yeah,
definitely higher than where you would have had the
I
Aggies.
think I had them at like 7 or something. Yeah. They don't they're still not coming across to me as some team to fear. They're gonna have a weird loss, and we know they're gonna have a loss at the end of the season, but they're gonna have some weird loss that they're gonna get beat by somebody, BK, that they shouldn't get beat by. They're gonna if they get down by 30, they're not coming back.
Well, that was the difference in last year's A&M team versus seemingly every A&M team in the course of my
It's
life.
true.
Is that they didn't lose the game to somebody they shouldn't. Like, they were favored in Austin, but like Texas was really good. That's a rivalry game. Texas always beats A&M, whatever. Miami, I know that game was in College Station. A&M was a slight favorite in that one too, but Miami was really good. They ended up playing for a national championship. And typically with A&M, they lose a game to an unranked team that just totally derails their season. They didn't do that.
For them to come back being down 30, that's unusual for them. They generally would quit.
Well, that was the biggest second half comeback in the history of the SEC. So it's unusual for anybody to have the comeback that they had against South Carolina. If they get down like that against any team, I don't know how you could expect Lightning to strike twice in that one. The biggest difference for A&M is like I'm not that worried. I mean, they could lose a game to a team that they shouldn't, but their schedule's a lot tougher this year. I mean, they took advantage of a very easy SEC schedule, and Texas was the best team that they played in the conference last year, and that was the one conference game that they lost last year. So this season, they've got 5 road games in conference play. They've got to go to Baton Rouge to play LSU. They've got to go to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. They've got Mizzou on the road. They've got South Carolina on the road, not an easy place to play. And then they've got to go to Norman the week before Texas comes to town. And then at home, obviously, they've got to play Texas. They've got to play Tennessee, Kentucky, and Arkansas. I don't think A&M fans are too worried about that. But it's a much more difficult schedule for Texas A&M this year. So expecting them to go 11-1, which is what their regular season record was last year, that feels far-fetched for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'd probably have them closer to 6 or 7 as well in the preseason poll.
Yeah, they need to be down the list a little bit.
Yeah, Oklahoma at 7 was a little surprising to me. Now, I think there's like again, Georgia, Texas, the top 2. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. I almost think there's a drop-off after 8, like with Georgia, with Texas, Ole Miss, A&M, LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee. I feel like those are the teams. Maybe even leave Tennessee out of there. If any of those other 7 teams got to Atlanta at the end of the year, it wouldn't completely stun me. After that, though, I feel like once you get to the Floridas and Mizzous and Auburns and South Carolinas, it doesn't feel like those teams are on the same level. But to see Oklahoma at 7 was a little surprising because the way people were talking about them last week, and from what I heard from folks who were there at SEC Media Days, it felt like a lot of folks were high on Oklahoma. It's a playoff team from last year. They got their quarterback back from last year, head coach going into year 5. I was a little surprised that the Sooners ended up 7th. Maybe it just shows the quality of the SEC, but maybe people aren't as high on them as in years past.
Well, they're understanding that they still don't see anybody that John Mateer can hand the ball off to. With an offensive line that's going to have to prove themselves right from the get-go. But they believe in their defense. They believe that their defense is like some other team's offense. That's how good that they believe that defense is. So,
well, it's not about them believing it. This is the SEC media and what they believe. So either they don't think the defense is that good, or they still have so many questions. It's not just who John Mateer is handing the ball off to; it's John Mateer. That guy was carried by an amazing defense last year. But, they didn't get to the SEC title game. They lost their first college football playoff game. Obviously, a much better year than them going 6-7 in 2024. But I think there are a lot of questions still about John Mateer, about whether he.
11 interceptions last year is a lot.
Yeah. No, I think those questions are fair. So the Texas rivals, again, A&M at number 4, Oklahoma at number 7 there.
Yeah, A&M's got the same problem with their quarterback in a big game. What's he going to do? That's their worry.
Yeah,
I think they'll have enough depth. They'll have enough. The defense, they'll have enough on the offensive line. Will be a little bit better. Their running backs will stay healthier, but they want to know what their quarterback will do in a really, really big game where it really matters.
So I'll ask you this right now. I mean, it's July 27th. You will have time to change your prediction. By the way, 40 days away from Texas opening up the season against Texas State. Got a nice round number there. But if I asked you right now to pick the 2 teams that you think will be in Atlanta for the SEC championship game, are you going with Texas and Georgia, or are you going with some sort of wild card?
No, I'd go with those 2 teams.
Yeah, I would too. I just there's other really good teams in this league, but look, Georgia's been to that game 5 years in a row. They've obviously won it 2 in a row, but betting against them feels crazy. And I really like what Texas has. I think even though the schedule is a gauntlet, they've got enough to find their way there at the end of the year.
Yeah, I believe. See, for me, I believe this Texas team gets better as the year goes on. I don't think they level out where they're really a good team and they can beat these teams, like you said, in the SEC, the okay teams where I don't think they'll struggle like they did like Kentucky and Mississippi State last year. I think this team gets better as the season goes on. If they stay healthy, I think they not only get better, they get really, really good.
Well, they did that last year. The problem was they were not good enough early in the season, and that
Oh my
cost
goodness.
them a college football playoff spot. Like, they could have run the table. If they beat Georgia and ended the season 8-0, then they probably find their way to a college football playoff. But like, they had lost their first 2 games against power competition. They started the year 3-2. They were
Yeah,
basically out of everything after that god-awful loss to Florida. So I agree. Like, last year, this team got better as the year went along, significantly better. I think like the team that we saw show up against Texas A&M or Michigan would have beat the team we
right.
saw in Columbus by 4 touchdowns. But the problem is, I know you've got Texas State week 1, but 2 of your first 4 games are against maybe the preseason number 1 team in America, Ohio State, and then at Tennessee, who might be a top 25 team, and that's an incredibly tough place to play. So you always use the word crescendo, Buck. You love that
Yeah.
word. You want to be reaching that towards the end of the year, but something that every Longhorn fan has talked about is, well, whatever comes before the crescendo can't be as crappy as last year's
Oh,
was.
no, it can't. Not in week 2, it can't. You have to have such an outstanding game in week 2 to beat that team. Even if that team doesn't play well, you've got to make sure that you win that. That can't be, remember, that's a must-win game for me. You must win that game. There's no reason that you shouldn't. You have everything in your favor. Everything is in your favor now. You've played them a number of times. You got an experienced head coach, quarterback. You've got plenty of experience to beat them at home. There's no excuses for not winning that game against Ohio State. There won't be any Saturday night. There won't be any Sunday morning or Monday morning when we talk about it. It won't be, well, if such and such didn't get hurt. No, that won't be the deal. It'll be, why didn't you beat them again?
Right. Well, you got the game at home for the first time in this
Yeah,
trilogy, if you will, and Texas is going to be favored. I mean, they are right now. I don't expect that to change.
I don't expect it to change either.
It'll be the first time the Longhorns are actually picked in Vegas or by Vegas to win. Now, I've been confident the last 2 times. Maybe I should pick Ohio State this year. Maybe it's my fault because I feel like I've picked Texas each of
No,
the last 2 years to win that game. So maybe I'll just pick the Buckeyes and stop giving this team the kiss of death.
no, this is, like I said, I think this is a team that'll start fast and finish really, really strong in these games. And in the front of the season, where we saw them struggle with some of these bad teams last year early in the season, we're like, what the hell? Why are we dominant? We're winning the games. Why are we dominating these teams? Why is there still a struggle in the third quarter? I mean, halftime should be get some other players in the game. Let's go.
Yep. Didn't have enough of that in San Jose State week 2 and UTEP week
Gosh,
3. So you'd like to
San
really
Jose
take
State.
I know. You'd like to really take care of business against Texas State. Let me ask you this, because I'm not a crescendo expert like you are. Can you reach multiple crescendos? Because I would like Texas to be at a crescendo in week 2 when they play Ohio State, but I don't want them to come down from that. I want them to also at the end of the year be at that peak too.
I don't know. I don't know if you can double up the crescendo thing. I think that's with each and every game, building and building and building. But by week 2, there still won't be an excuse that you're a talented enough team that you're going to give them. Hey, they're the same thing. They're going through the same things you're going through. I mean, they lose a lot of talented players. They've
Yeah.
got an experienced quarterback. What they have is, well, and the running game is about the same. What they have is those lines of scrimmage that worry you at times. Once again, they're going to try to run the ball, even though they have a Heisman Trophy candidate. They're going to run the ball against Texas. They want to. They're going to be on the road. They want to control the clock. They want to do all those wonderful things coaches talk about when you're on the road. And you have to take a bunch of that kind of crap away from. You just got to take it away from them and say, no, you're not going to get to run the ball. You got this nice little sophomore running back who's supposed to be all everything, Bo Jackson, but no, we're going to stuff him. We're going to force your Heisman Trophy quarterback and your great receivers to have to make plays. But we've handled them before. You're Your defensive, your new secondary coach is going to say, "Yeah, I've been around this. We've handled those dudes before, so we can do the same thing. Except we're going to be much more efficient on the offensive side of the ball. We've given them much too much credit of having this great defense. We're going to this is our offense. This is what we're about on offense, and we will continue to do this throughout the year." And that's from game one. I mean, blasting Texas State in the 50s or 60s should be the way it is.
Yeah. Well, the problem in the last two meetings against Ohio State hasn't been the defense, it's been the offense,
Yeah, and the
right?
way they start, it's just kind of, oh my God, it's going to take you another series and another. I mean, how many series do you think you're going to get in a football game?
Right. So, look, of course, you'd like to make sure your defense is playing at a high level. I'm not disagreeing with you there, but you got to get the offense going. I mean, you scored 14 points in the playoff game 2 years ago at Jerry World, and you scored 7 points last year in week 1 on the road in Columbus. Like, you're not going to beat, I don't care how good this defense is. I don't care how good Will Muschamp is coordinating this defense. You're not going to beat teams the caliber of Ohio State or really just win too many games in general if you're scoring that few points. So
Yeah, actually,
Sark's offense,
at the least have 17 points before halftime.
that'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get to the 30s, of course, but you got to get somewhere in the 20s to feel really good about your chance because of the firepower Ohio State has. Their triplets are great, right? Heisman candidate at quarterback, as you said, Jeremiah Smith, the best receiver in the country, Bo Jackson, a really, really talented running back coming off of a 1,000+ yard freshman season. They've got more coming back on offense than they do on defense. So I expect their offense to maybe be buttoned up, and they're going to score some points. Texas, I mean, they've got to show up more offensively than they have in either of these last two matchups. They've averaged 10.5 points per game in these two games against the Buckeyes. That's just
17
not.
by half, 17 at the least by halftime.
All right. Well, hey, what about
I'm
17
sorry, I had to kick that field goal.
Hey, what about 17 in both halves? Can we get to 34? Can we sign up for that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking more than that. It may take more than 34.
I'd get a shootout in week 2. You're putting in the call for that.
Yeah, I'd like to beat this team by 10 or more points, but I'd like to have 17 and at least have 17 points in the first half. I don't want to go into halftime with 7 points and saying, okay, now they're going to pick up. They play a little better in the second quarter. That won't be good enough. I need 17 points.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. They had 0.
That's on the low end. That's on the low end, dude. Is 17.
Well, I hope you're right because they had 0 at halftime last year.
Right.
So I'll take infinite more points than what they had a season ago at the shoe. It'd be a problem if they were running into the tunnel with a goose egg on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
so we'll get into that more.
I can't imagine 3 times that you handle this group, this wide receiver core for them. So if there is going to be a shootout, it's going to be the second week. That thing could turn into just a wild shootout. How much fun would that be? I mean, I know it would be. I mean, you're talking about biting your fingernails off, but a wild shootout in the 30s would be fun too if Texas won that game.
That's the key right there. I don't care if the game's 3-0. It's fun if Texas wins. It's not fun if Texas loses.
You're right.
So if it's a shootout, if it's a defensive slugfest, if it's a blowout would be more fun, of course, but just find a way to slay the dragon that has been, there's 2 dragons. It's Ohio State and Georgia. And again, on the schedule, the only one that you will actually get a chance to go up against is Ohio State. So yeah, get it done, please.
Get it done.
All right. We'll dive back in. We got more sound from Steve Sarkisian last week at SEC Media Days. We also have some quotes, Buck. You're going to like these. Sark was asked about penalties and what the Longhorns are doing to actually combat the penalty issues that have plagued this program for too long, but obviously really hurt the Longhorns in the 2025 season. Before we get to what Sark had to say about that, about our first round of sponsor shout-outs.
Folks, with my bad back, searching for the right support for years, nothing gave me the comfort that I needed. And then I discovered Relax the Back 20-some years ago. Folks, Relax the Back embraces a holistic approach for a healthier lifestyle. And once again, my back couldn't be happier. And right now, this is a great opportunity to go over and check out their zero-gravity recliners, adjustable mattress sets. Of course, they got Tempur-Pedic pillows and mattresses there, human-scale office chairs, desks, and all the wonderful accessories that they have for your back. Don't wait until you have a back problem before you go over to Relax the Back. Try to find a way that you won't have a back problem, and that's by going out and checking some of the great office chairs that they have just for you. Two great locations. One is in the Hill Country Galleria across from Whole Foods. The other one in the North Austin at the Gateway Shopping Center. That's right across the street from the Container Store. Live pain-free like the Buck at Relax the Back.
Yes, indeed. Love our friends at Relax the Back. Also love our friends at
Oh, yeah.
sendtextickets.com. All this Texas football conversation has me excited. Hopefully it has you excited, and hopefully it has you wanting to catch a game at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium this year. If you want to be there for any of the 7 home games on the Longhorns 2026 schedule, Centex Tickets has you covered. Plenty of tickets on site right now for every game. They got road games too. They got the Oklahoma game. If you want to attend a Longhorn football game in person, go to centextickets.com. Don't forget to use our promo code CENTEX10. If you type that in at checkout, you're going to get 10% off of any ticket purchase. And it's not just Texas football. They got every Longhorn sport. They got every sporting event. You want to catch a Round Rock Express game this summer? They've got tickets available for that. Concerts, comedy shows, festivals, you name it, everything. All there in one spot. Just log on from your phone or computer to centextickets.com.
Our good friends over at Texas Orthopedics. If you're seeking that specialized patient-focused orthopedic care, contact the experts at Texas Orthopedics. Their physicians offer comprehensive surgical and non-surgical orthopedic care for children and adults, rehabilitation, spinal care, sports medicine, trauma care, joint replacement, and more. Their doctors are dedicated orthopedic surgeons there, and their goal is to get you right back into good health and the great quality of life that you deserve and that you want. Folks, I'm headed over there this morning. I got my MRI a week ago, and now I'm going to go see Dr. Fawn. He's one of the new doctors there, new back guys over there, and he wants to see me. He wants to talk about some alternatives for this bad back of mine. Love my chairs, but I'm getting to the point of where my back is like, if there's something that's new out there to fix it, Texas Orthopedic knows about it. They are the largest independent orthopedic practice in Central Texas. For more information, go to txortho.com.
You said he's the new fat guy working there?
No, his name is Dr. Fawn, but he's one of their new surgeons, a young guy over there for backs. And he's going
new back guy. I thought you said new fat guy working there.
He's the new back guy. And he wants to talk about some other things, some alternatives. Since 25 years ago, they've been able to put little batteries in your back and stuff. Now, that's not going to go with me because that word comes up, because the word surgery will come up, and I'll be like, no, doc. I'm 71 and feeling fine. Just give me my regular pain, and I'm good to go. I know exactly how to handle the regular pain of back.
Oh, my gosh. Well, love Texas Orthopedics. Also, you talk about quality of life. You want to improve your quality of life. How about improve the place that you live?
Yes.
All custom homes. If you want to upgrade your home, totally revamp what you've got, major renovations, kitchen remodels, bathroom work, you want to add some life to your outdoor space, McCall Custom Homes, they can do all of those things. Plus, they're custom home builders as well. So if you want to build your dream home from scratch, these are the guys that you want to call. Mike McCall, a great dude, become a great friend of ours, listens every day, big Longhorn fan. He and his family will take care of you. It's a father-son team with more than 4 decades of combined experience, and all of that experience has happened in Central Texas, so they know what it takes to turn a Central Texas home into something special. A+ rated by the BBB, tons of 5-star reviews online. They do the very best work. McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. They're offering free estimates for Bucky and BK listeners. Reach out to Mike when you're ready. 512-633-9580. That's his cell number. Call him, text him anytime. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home.
Sweet.
All right, Buck. So we'll get to some sound from Steve Sarkisian in a moment. We don't have sound for this one. We just have quotes from Steve Sarkisian. And something that you and I have talked about a lot this offseason is the P word. Yes. Penalties. Way too many. The Longhorns finished 135th out of 136 teams in penalties per game. That is not a stat that you want to be at the bottom of the list at. And it's a huge issue for Texas. It cost them at times in their 3 losses. Hell, even in their wins. Their wins were made a lot closer and more stressful because they kept shooting themselves in the foot. So a big problem that Texas had. And we've been curious, okay, what are you actually doing to address that problem? Give Hank South some credit for asking Steve Sarkisian the question in Tampa. And we've got a couple of quotes, starting with this one. I think one thing that we evolved to, and I believe this, if you want to be a disciplined team on the field, you need to be a disciplined team off the field. It starts off the field and then it carries itself onto the field. And so we've restructured some things off the field discipline-wise, and Coach Torrey Becton's been very creative down there in the weight room with some of that discipline. But the one thing that I think that we're doing that is resonating with the guys is the players taking accountability of that. And so when a player jumps off sides, for example, that whole position group is kind of serving that punishment with him, because that's what happens in a game, right? You don't jump off sides, and that one player who jumped off sides moved back 5 yards. Everybody moves back 5 yards. It's 1st and 15 now. That changes when you rough the quarterback. Everybody gets a 15-yard penalty, the entire team. It's not just the individual. This is the ultimate team sport. So I think shifting kind of the punishment, if you want to call it, to where everybody feels the effect of it, I think that's had a real impact on us. End quote.
Yeah, I it's tough. It is about discipline. It's about discipline. It's about your, when you start talking culture and changing the month that you're going to do, that's all your culture. That's all your culture right there. If your guys aren't disciplined football players, that stuff off the field. And I mean, things happen off the field. It's hard. I mean, like I said, I'd like to know what he's doing. That's nice to know. But is that truly the part that's going to work? I mean, you have to do something. Okay. I mean, you have to do something. You can't do nothing.
Right. Well, you tell me. I mean, you've been saying you wanted to hear what Steve Sarkisian was going to do about the penalties. It sounds like he is doing something.
What do they do? Is it they all run together, or they all go to the movies together? What is it that they do? Do they get run extra laps? Do they stop practice and start? Does that screw with everybody else because your whole group goes and runs 3 laps and now you've missed time that affects the defense? They could be using that time to have plays run again. What is it? I know what is it? I know 5 yards back but what is the discipline of it? But I always think of, well, don't make me pay off the field. I'm not a jackass off the field. I don't do dumb things. I'm not a scatterboo off the field. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do something dumb off the field. I don't know how you do it. But when he says that, I'm trying to figure out, what does he mean by that? Does that mean laps? They all pay the penalty?
All right.
Does he say they run laps?
Well, he talked about Torrey Becton, the strength and conditioning coach, instilling some of that discipline. And obviously in the summer, that's the guy who's spending the bulk of the time with the Texas players. But I think the last sentence, I mean, he didn't say, yeah, everyone's got to run the bleachers at DKR. Everyone's got to stay in the weight room for an extra 30 minutes or what. He didn't give that sort of answer, and I don't expect him to.
And what is it that you're doing on the field with where the coaches are in the summer? You're not allowed to be hanging out with them then. So Coach Becton's got you in the weight room. What is it? I mean, if you sneeze in the weight room and snot comes out of your nose and it hits the floor, is that the discipline? I mean, what is that you do? Some extra reps or something? It still doesn't give me an indication. I just know that now that guy's sort of in charge of the discipline, whatever that may be.
I think the sentence at the end that stuck out to me was, I think, kind of shifting the punishment to where everybody feels the effect of it. I think that's had a real impact on us.
Yeah.
So one guy screws up, the entire position group, or maybe, someone on defense jumps off sides, the entire defense has to run more. They've got to do something to where
does he get popped with a towel when he comes across the room after the shower? I mean, there's just those things. I mean, I'd love to know that he added more officials at practice or something, giving Coach Becton the extra rep thing. Well, I mean, like I said, it's something. It's you got to do something. At least we're hearing that they're doing something, and that the strength and conditioning coach that these guys have a lot of respect for, obviously. I mean, they put it in his hands. That's fine, I guess.
All right. Well, let's see. Here's more from Steve Sarkisian. It doesn't sound like you're satisfied with his response to this point. Let's see if this changes your thoughts. Sark continued. There's types of penalties that are bad penalties. Pre-snap penalties are bad penalties. Post-play penalties are bad penalties. There are some penalties that, as a coach, you kind of need to live with a little bit. Like, you can't expect to be a great run-blocking team if you're not maybe playing through the echo of the whistle. You got to be able to live with some of that. But it's a unique stat because when you really look at the history of it all, when you look at wins and losses in a game, the penalties is kind of far down actually on just a sheer metrics. But when you look at a team totality at the end of the year, I surely don't want to be 132nd in the country in penalties. Like that doesn't sit well with me.
No,
So that
yeah.
part I didn't love that at all because he's like, yeah, you look at metrics, what actually cost teams games. It's not really penalties that makes that much of a difference. And I think that's wrong. But he continued. And that was the first thing I addressed when we got back together as a team in January. So I'm probably a little bit more bullish on it, more of perception of who we are as a program, because I do believe we're a disciplined team, but we surely didn't play like it last year, and we've got to be better. Not because I think if there's a direct correlation of winning and losing, but that's the standard at the University of Texas. And so I think it'll help us win a few more games. I don't know if it's going to be directly tied to each game, but I think if we play with more discipline that way, but all that starts, like you said, in the off season, and I think we're doing that, end quote.
Okay, well, at least they're trying to do something. Well, then, his original statement was you got to be disciplined on the field and off the field. What is there, a bunch of stuff going on that we don't even know about? Is that why they're jumping off sides? Are they a bunch of crazy people away from it that we just don't know about? I mean, is your culture? I just think that's a part of the way you coach and respect for your coach and for you as a player. This is about you having some, just settle down, understand what the snap count is. Once again, for an offensive lineman, don't get yourself in such a tizzy that the guy who told you 5 seconds ago, you get up to the line and something happens and you forget the snap count. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't 5 minutes ago that you broke the huddle and got to the line of scrimmage. It wasn't, those pre-snap deals, you know what I'm saying? Those are the dumbest of all. Dude, it wasn't 5 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago. It was probably less than 15 seconds ago before you broke the huddle and you went to the line and you jumped the count. Didn't you remember what the guy just told you? It was on 1 or it was on 2? I don't know. I just know that you have to do something. That's a disciplined football team to me. That's a part of your culture to me. That whole, and that can lose you games. He doesn't think of it as a big deal, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I agree with you that discipline's part of culture. And, Steve Sarkisian kind of beats us over the head with culture. He uses that word all the time. And I feel like he's used it more this offseason than he has in any other year. And I'm not saying culture doesn't matter, but one of the ways I think your culture shows up is how disciplined your football team is. So it's great that he thinks this team has this great culture in the offseason. If they're in the 130s again in penalties, then I'm going to think, man, maybe the culture isn't as good as it needs to be around here. Like I love that these guys are doing scavenger hunts and they're hanging out with each other and they're doing this Culture Wednesday work and they're all friends. Like that stuff's important. That's great, but it's got to translate into more success on the field. And one of those areas where I think that shows up is penalties.
Like I said, popping a guy with a towel, extra pops in the ass with a towel. Anything that you do that is team involvement. Because I like you said, when I first started coaching, I thought it was a little much, but I watched Doug Flutie, a guy jumped offside. I watched him kick an offensive lineman right in the ass. Square. Like he was a little 5'9" dude, and he's kicking 300-pounders for jumping offside. Don't ever do that again. Or the snap count was on 2 and some snap came up early. He would pop a guy in the back of the ass so hard, man. I would be like, Doug, these guys are going to kill you. But they had so much respect for that dude. It was like, it didn't happen that often, because when it did happen, that was the guy that went nuts. The quarterback was the guy who went nuts when there was an offensive penalty, just out of his mind. And he got the respect of everybody. And that guy's, you're talking about the Heisman Trophy, and the smallest guy on the damn field got all the respect. And nobody turned around and slugged him in the head, But
so are you saying Arch Manning needs to do more of that this year?
Well, yeah, he's the guy truly in control.
Okay.
If he's not throwing picks and everything's going smooth and he's having a great game and the right tackle or the left tackle is jumping off of the guard, is missing a block, he's got to be the guy who comes face to face with that guy and says, hey, dude, you're killing us. Come on, Smalls, you're killing us here. What are you doing? He's got to be the guy that takes that. And the individual coaches, it's like, to me, the running back coach, I mean, if he's got a bunch of fumblers, that's going to look bad on him.
Right.
Because for me, it always looked bad on me. Fumbling was one thing that I just couldn't take it. I mean, it's like a wide receiver who can't catch. I'm like, how did you get a scholarship here? Why aren't you
Well,
somewhere else?
Fumbling wasn't a problem at Texas last year, thankfully. So that's not something that they've got.
They were fabulous last year at that.
Yeah, but it's
You know,
the
you just
penalties
don't get to play
was.
you don't get to play if you fumble the ball. You just get to stand over there with me and get yelled at.
To me, that makes sense. But what also makes sense to me is if you keep committing penalties, you also don't get to play.
Yes.
And we have not seen enough of that the last couple of years. There has not been enough accountability. I mean, number 24 on special teams, sorry to single you out, Warren Roberson, but it's felt like for the last 2 years, every time that guy's been on the field for a punt return, he's blocked somebody in the back or held, and then the next week, the same exact thing happens.
Yeah, if the same guy who's playing guard jumps twice, somebody else ought to be running in the next play.
Right. It felt like last year. It felt like last year. I mean, they had tons of other issues last season that hurt them too. But I don't think there was enough accountability in that department. And Steve Sarkisian used the word accountability in those quotes that we read. So, but yeah, we've got to see more of it. And I'll say this: like Steve Sarkisian's talking about how the penalty stat isn't always indicative of who goes out and wins games, but the last 5 national champions in college football, here is where they've ranked in penalty yardage per game. Indiana, number 2. Ohio State, number 16. Michigan, number 3. Georgia, 39. Georgia, 20. So last year, Texas was 135.
I know. Yeah, that doesn't make a difference.
Close. And even in 2023 and 2024, when Texas made the playoff, they were nowhere close to the top 40. So all 5 of the last national champions have been in the top 40 in penalties per game. Again, they're really good at a bunch of other things too. So that obviously helps, but they don't shoot themselves in the foot. They are disciplined, and Texas has not been disciplined. And I'm worried that when this team gets to the playoff and they're playing great teams, I'm worried when they're playing great teams. Hell, not even in the playoff. They're playing a lot of great teams in the regular season. I am worried that if they keep moving themselves backwards or giving out free yards, then it's going to cost them a national championship. And that's, if we see this again for a 4th year in a row where Texas is outside of the top 75 in the penalty stat, and that's what kills them, then you can't give Steve Sarkisian the benefit of the doubt anymore. It's a problem that's been going on for too long that he hasn't found a way to address, and he's got to be accountable for that.
Quit talking yourself into it doesn't matter. That's not what matters in a football game. Start talking to yourself that it really does matter. If I'm trying to win a championship, it does matter, and it will matter.
Yeah, and
here's the numbers right there. Those 5 numbers, those 5 years, BK, should be enough to tell you, yes, it does matter.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised he said that, but here's some good news, right? A couple of things. One's a Texas thing. You know, in 2024, Texas had 26 turnovers as a team, which was the most in the SEC. And I remember last offseason, people asked Sark about that. He talked about that being a point of emphasis, something they're trying to clean up for 2025. They had 9 turnovers last year, which was second in the conference. So my hope is that, you know, Sark did say, even though he's kind of downplaying penalties a little bit there, he did say that was the first thing he addressed when the team all got back together in January.
And let's remember, he is now the offensive everything now. He is now getting away from the defense. He's got a defensive head coach. This is on what he's trying to do now too. I mean, if he has to, once again, I've been around places that stop practice. A guy jumps offside. I mean, a guy, jumps the gun a couple times. I've been around where coaches have stopped practice, and you hate to lose practice time, BK, because you're under the gun time wise.
Sure.
But I've been where the coach would stop practice and bring the whole offensive group, not only the group that was at the ball who did it, bring everybody together, stand right in the middle of them, lose his mind, and say, listen, we're not doing another thing, And he said, if it happens again, we'll stop practice again, and I'll start this whole procession all over again. You just have to understand how important it is. I mean, the emphasis just has to be there. You will lose time at something else, and you cost the team that way too. But if you start to say this is how important this is, and your defensive coordinator is going to look at you like, Coach, we're not jumping the gun. It's your guys that are get all fidgety. Why are we struggling? Why are we getting punished for this? Well, it's a team thing. Once again, it's all of us, not just the offense. It's the team. So your defensive guy's got to be blowing snot at the guy that he's making jump over there and say, guess what? You're about to do this again because you're scared. I mean, it's the only way that's the way to make it better. You have to stop them when it happens, BK, and you have to let them understand that, oh, no, that little 5-yard penalty is not, oh, let's just move on. Oh, that you jump. We saw that you jumped. No big deal. Oh, no, it's a big deal. You have to make big deals out of stuff that you don't think is a big deal.
Right.
You just rattle off the 5 national champions over the last 5 years. That's a big deal. That tells you something.
Yeah, it's important. And here's maybe encouraging. Now, this is not related to Texas, but I went and found, I was comparing other like contending teams and college football playoff teams and how they did in the penalty department. And I saw that Alabama in 2024, Kalen DeBoer's first year, Alabama ranked 123rd in penalty yardage per game. Last year, 2025, they were 17th. And they ended up playing for an SEC title. They made the playoff. They won a college football playoff game. So what happens in Tuscaloosa has no bearing on what happens in Austin. I get that. But why I bring that up is another team in this conference that was one of the worst teams at committing penalties 2 years ago. And in the span of just one season, they were able to turn things around and become one of the 20 most disciplined teams in the sport. And it had a major impact on the success that they had over the course of the entire year. So the hope is, yes, Texas was awful at it last year. They've been pretty bad at it 3 years in a row, but last year they were about as bad as you could possibly be.
Yes.
There's proof out there that that's not a stat that necessarily has to carry over year over year. And the hope is it's not one that does for Texas because this team is too talented to be, again, shooting themselves in the foot as often as they have been around here.
Yeah. At least he's addressed that. I maybe what they do.
He's never going to, no coach is going to tell you exactly what they're doing at practice, right? I'm not surprised that Sark stopped. I mean, that's more than he's given us than he's ever given us before. But
but then again, there hadn't been a lot of people that address that to him. I mean, it's just there. And of course, he's not going to say it out loud because you know what? Because he doesn't think it's a big deal in the game. I mean, he thinks of it as one of the things that hurts you, but he doesn't think of it as one of the big things that hurt you.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting. Like Sark was kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth with those quotes there, which I thought was interesting. But look, he's right. I mean, you're going to have penalties in a game. You're not going to go 0 penalties for an entire season. But the pre-snap stuff, he's right. Like that's just got to go away. And anything dumb after the whistle is over, that kind of stuff is going to go. You're going to get called for a holding. That's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Look, you might get, if you're a DB, you might get beaten. You have to interfere with the guy. Otherwise, it's going to be a touchdown. Like the other guys are on scholarship too, as Mac Brown would say. But way too many pre-snap infractions last year that just drives you absolutely insane. Because like you said, I mean, we saw it on offense, defense, and special teams. But it's like, dude, when you're on offense, the snap count. You don't pay attention to what they're doing. You know what you're supposed to do. And there were penalties that happened at home too.
We know this, BK, the same individual that continues to get the same thing that happens over and over, and that you and I and all the fans can see, they need to change that individual. That has to change. There's too many talented players that can do that job.
Right.
So a guy who continues to do it over and over again shouldn't be having an opportunity to do that. I mean, that's just common sense.
Yeah, if Trevor Gooseby committed 8 or 9 penalties this year, you wouldn't love it. But all of his other snaps are so damn good. He's one of the best left tackles in the country. He plays a premium position. Like, okay, we can live with it. Like, whatever. But we're talking about a gunner on the punt return team. It's like you got other guys who can do that job. Hey man, you don't have to block anybody. We'll just fair catch every single time. Let's just not go backwards 10 yards, please.
Yeah, I just think that he's given us enough right there of letting us know that somebody let him know that is a unbelievable stat where you line up in the country with your penalties over the last couple of years. So that's good to know. He's got whether he puts it on Becton or he's going to put a lot of that on himself now too, because he's going to be paying a lot more attention to this offense and what they do and how they practice and everything else. he just made it seem like he was doing a little bit of everything over the last couple of years, that he was involved in both sides of the ball. Now he can be involved and make sure his side of the ball and the other side, because now you can go and watch them do things and say, oh, that's a penalty. Why are you jumping off sides yourself? I mean, he can pay attention to more. He's got less duties,
Yeah.
now.
And here's the reality, not to sound like a broken record with this take, but, we'll all find out together. Like, they got 12 games in the regular season. We'll see how disciplined they are. He could tell us that they're working on this, that, and the other, but if the Hankies keep showing up on game day, then no one's going to believe it. Hell, I wouldn't care if Sark in the press conference said we're not doing anything to address it. If the team went out there and all of a sudden weren't committing any penalties, that's all I care about. So
Yes,
we'll find out what happens. Hopefully it's a clean game week 1 against Texas State. But obviously week 2, again, Ohio State's an incredibly talented team. We'll talk about the Big Ten preseason poll in a moment, but the Buckeyes were picked to finish first in that conference. They're a legit national championship contender again. That you lost the penalty battle last year. You had 3 times the amount of penalties that Ohio State did in that loss.
now, and you can't win that game. You can't. If you tell me you do got 3 times the penalties and you name the teams, Georgia, A&M, OU, Ohio State, and you tell me you got 3 times the penalties that they did, I'm going to say you probably lost those games.
Texas lost some costly games because of, in part, those penalties. So, yeah, they've got to be clean. They've got to be buttoned up, and we'll all find out together if that's something that they have really addressed this offseason. So there you go. We'll take your thoughts.
Somebody ask him the question. That's great.
Yep. Shout out to Hank South. Good dude. Asked the question, and unfortunately couldn't find the sound of that, but we got the quote from Steve Sarkisian addressing it there. All right, we'll take your thoughts. The Coda text line, 512-222-9328. Of course, the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch live chats are rocking and rolling as well. And no more false starts. I agree. Way too many of those last year. That's on Sark. That's on Kyle Flood, too. The offensive line was the biggest culprit of the penalty problem for the Longhorns last season.
That has got to make a head coach lose. A play caller, the guy who calls the plays, that's got to make him lose his mind. I mean, that just changes everything.
Well, it made me lose my mind. I've been gradually getting it back, but
you haven't called the plays.
The first false start I see will make me lose some of my mind again. All right, we'll dive into the Big Ten preseason poll and just some other college football conversation here on a Monday. But before we continue, how about a few more sponsor shout-outs?
Hello to Jay and the gang over at Sue Patrick, the incredible selection of Longhorn apparel, collectibles, accessories, and more. Tons of Texas-themed items, gifts, books, cards, and a wide variety of men's and women's clothing. And the hats, brother. They've got the hats. They got a new shipment of hats. They got the bowling shirts that are there. Tommy Bahamas, you name it, they have it at Sue Patrick. Sue Patrick offers free shipping on online orders of $59 or more, free curbside pickup, and plenty of parking spots right there at 5222 Burnett Road. Last time I was there, they had a great selection of those Longhorn sneakers, BK, tons of them. Sometimes the shipments come and go real quick. They had tons of those items there. Plus, they've got a whole collection of jelly cats. They've restocked their jelly cats at 5222 Burnett Road. For more information, don't forget, Sue Patrick's been around for 50 years. For more information, please go to SuePatrick.com.
Yes, indeed.
And scheduled glasses are just around the corner, I got to believe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll be out at Sue Patrick, I believe, next week.
My wife says, are you bringing in more of these? She goes, you don't drink beer anymore. You very seldom drink out of a glass. She goes, you bringing in more scheduled glasses? I said, of course I am. At least half a dozen. She goes, we got a lineup of these glasses here. I'm like, hey, give them out to people. When you go to church, give them out to your church fans.
You have a bunch of them at home, but you don't use them?
I don't use them. I use one glass. But I have the different, over the last 3 years, I've got all the 3 different schedules for the years. And now my wife says, we don't need 6 more of those. For some odd reason, I go a half dozen.
I thought you were buying them to give them away. I didn't realize you were just stashing them in case of an apocalypse or something.
No, I stash them up in the glass cabinet there. That's generally the one I can't reach. I put one down where I can reach. The other ones are sitting there. She goes, we got a whole cabinet full of those schedule glasses.
Display,
yeah. Typical display.
Artwork. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of artwork, TVs can be art now. You've got one of
Yes,
those artwork TVs.
it's on
Those things are
downstairs right
fancy.
now.
Those things are fancy. Look, AV Consultations, if you want one of those TVs, if you want a big screen, a flat screen, a home theater room, a giant projector, whatever, AV Consultations, they are the people to call. They've been hooking up Central Texas since 1988. They can custom design a home TV setup to your liking. Again, whether it's the home theater room, if you want the 4 screens like I have back at my place, if you want a patio setup to where you can watch the Longhorns all fall long outside, AV Consultations can make it all happen for you. Plus, surround sound speakers. They also do whole home lighting, surveillance systems, and so much more. Anything technology related, all the fun toys that are going to make your home a much more enjoyable place for you to live. And obviously for friends and family to come over as well. AV Consultations can hook you up. All you have to do is give them a call. 512-255-8678. 512-255-8678. You can find out more online at avconsultations.com.
Good friends at Hat Creek Burger Company since 2008. Burgers, fries, and shakes. Hat Creek Burger is always a place where good food, good folks, and a lot of good fun there for sure. Over 30 locations in the state of Texas, and I've been crushing Hat Creek Burger Company. Wife's out of town. Buck's been just going crazy. Burger Man. I'm the Burger Man now. Had me a double yesterday. How about this? Double hamburger, double meat, double cheese, large fry, and large shake. Yes.
Oh,
I am big on Hat Creek Burger Company. So I said, hey, you can make your burgers, you can't use your stove, but you can make your grill. Nobody's making them like that. Not like the ones they have at Hat Creek Burger Company for sure. And folks, they've got those great playgrounds for the kids and happy hour for adults. And it is just a place for everyone. There's something in Hat Creek for everybody. I don't care if you're interested. They got a chicken meal there that's pretty good too. They got nuggies. Plus they got chicken. They got a nice chicken sandwich at Hat Creek Burger. I'm going to try everything, BK. I'm even going to I'm able to chew now. I'm going to that pretzel bun. I got to have that pretzel burger. I got to check out what that's about this week.
There you go.
Mama's coming back tomorrow, y'all. But Hat Creek Burger's there today, so let me head on down to Hat Creek Burger Company.
The Hotel California run is over, huh?
It's about over with.
That is a tragedy right there. I'm sorry that your boss is coming back home, coming back from vacation.
Some people are like, I can't wait for my wife to get back. I'm like, hey, Hotel California is almost over with.
Hey, you're gonna call whatever airline she's flying and do a bomb threat or something just to get the flight delayed.
Don't worry, I'll be in the cell phone line tomorrow.
Okay. Good luck there. All right, diving back into the college football conversation, Buck. We've got Big Ten football to get into, and obviously this impacts Texas. I think y'all know why. So Big Ten will have its conference media days this week.
In Chicago.
They're soft up there in Chicago. They don't do a traditional preseason poll like everybody else does, right? Typically, tons of members of the media who cover the teams in the conference will cast a ballot for projected order of finished for the number of teams. We talked about this with the SEC. That's how it works in the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12. Pretty much every other conference does that except for the Big 10. Yes. I don't know why they don't. They haven't done it for a long time. It's very annoying. But we do get some semblance of a preseason poll in the Big 10. The folks from Cleveland.com, they reach out to a pretty select number of press around the Big Ten Conference to put together their own preseason poll. They had 31 voters this year. Remember, the SEC had 164 to compile that preseason poll. The Big Ten, just 31 votes. But we do have the results to get to that came out this morning. And the preseason favorites to win the Big Ten here in 2026, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yes.
Which is interesting. Ohio State has not won the Big Ten since 2020. They've won a national championship since then. It feels like they make the playoff every single year, including last year. They've been in the conference title game a couple of times since, but it's been 6 years since they've won the league. That's a drought that's very long for them. But they were picked to win the conference this year. They received 15 of those 31 first-place votes. Oregon finished second in the poll. They landed 11 first place nod, so pretty close there. And then the defending champion Indiana Hoosiers received the last of the 5 first place votes. You had USC and Michigan rounding out the top 5 in the conference, Buck.
What about the Hawkeyes?
I was not expecting to talk about Iowa, so I stopped looking after 5. Why are you asking about Iowa? I mean, they're going to go 8-4 like they always do.
Yeah,
he's still there.
Is he still there?
He's still there. They're going to beat all the teams that they're supposed to beat. They're going to lose all the big games. They're going to make a bowl game, and they're going to win 8 or 9 games this season. It's rinse and repeat up there for the folks at Kinnick Stadium.
Isn't that something? Isn't that like Kirk Ferentz is he the longest tenured coach in America now?
Yes, he is. He's entering year number 28.
Wow.
In Iowa City.
I wonder if he's in the same home that he bought when he first got there.
Well, since you asked, Iowa was picked to finish 8th in the Big Ten this year.
Oh.
That's out of 18 teams. We're still trying to figure out why these conferences are numbered the way that they are, but there's your Iowa pick for you. I want to get to the sound from Steve Sarkisian. Look, Ohio State's really good. It's going to be a fun race atop the Big Ten. Oregon's loaded with talent. Ohio State's Ohio State. Indiana, the defending champs, they lost a lot, but they hit the portal pretty hard again. They've got more financial investment than they've ever had, and I don't know how you bet against Curt Cignetti with what he's done for his first 2 years in Bloomington. But Steve Sarkisian was asked last week before the Big Ten preseason poll came out, he was asked about the Ohio State game and if there's like extra pressure to win that game this time around. Here was the head coach responding to that question.
Well, I think again, hey, we prepared. We tried really hard in the Ohio State game last year, so I don't know, practice more, meet more. I don't know. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think we understand the value of the game for both teams, and you don't think about it all the time. The first weekend of September, the impact that it's going to have for the beginning of December. And so, hey, we're gonna prepare, put our best foot forward, and against a really good team. It'd be a great game in DKR, great night in DKR. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
You didn't feel like you were rewarded for that in any way?
No, I don't. Yeah. I don't at all.
I like to hear him say, no, we are going to win that game. We've played them a couple times. We've lost. It's time for us to win. We're going to prepare like we're going to win, and we're going to win the game. I don't even know why there's anything wrong with saying that. How many times are you going to lose to them? 8 times before you finally get a chance to beat them? You probably won't be around here if you lose to them 7 out of 8 times. So
you wanted the Mark Messier guarantee. You wanted the Charles Barkley guarantee. Sark to go on the record saying we're beating that team.
Yeah, we're beating them this time. We've lost them the last 2 times. It's time for us to beat them. We're going to win. We're going to win that game. And then tell me we're preparing to win the game. Tell me all those other things later. Tell me that you're going to win that game, and then tell me about your preparation. That's fine. Instead of telling me, well, we're preparing to win. No, screw that. We're going to win the game. We don't care how. We just have to win. We don't have to do anything fancy. We don't have to get BK and Bucky's P word deal. If we have more P's than they do and we win the game, people are going to be very happy about that win.
Yeah, but that's not really Sark's. Like, how many coaches out there are going to say that? Nobody does that.
Well, he's been he's been out there a little bit during the course of the spring and the summer. Keep going. Don't stop now. Hey, you got your new defense.
I have no problem with Steve Sarkisian not guaranteeing a win against anybody at conference media days. That's just, last year, something we talked about a lot was there's all this hype and expectations and pressure on this team. And most of that was brought in by people outside the Texas football program, right? As the press and fans and whatever. But I don't need the head coach of this team adding more hype and pressure than what's already there. And there's already a lot of it there. So I've got no issue with him saying we're going to win that game. Hoping he's telling the guys in the locker room, we're good enough to beat this team, but I don't need that to be a national headline coming out of Tampa that Steve Sarkisian's guaranteeing a win over Ohio State.
Yeah, I guess. I guess hoping to win the game is kind of cool.
I mean, they're prepared. Like, what do you want? Like, you want them to go out and win the game. That's all that matters. You don't care what he says. You just go win the game.
Like I said, yeah, you're right. I don't care what he
You're
says.
saying you care what he says. Like, I wish he would have said, like, we're going to win that game. Like, just go win the game. There's no need to add more pressure to go win. He knows what's at stake. He knows how big of a deal it is. I mean, he talked about this too. Like, the last 3 years, look, Texas has made the playoff 2 of the last 3 years. The 2 years they made it, they won their big marquee out-of-conference game, right? 2023, they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, helped them get into the playoff. 2024, they beat Michigan in Ann Arbor, helped them get into the playoff. 2025, they lose to Ohio State. It keeps them out of the play. He knows what's at stake. He knows how big of a deal it is. He knows that his team hasn't been able to beat Ohio State. So, like, he's putting in the work behind the scenes to make it happen. That's all that matters to me. I don't need a guarantee out there.
Yeah, I mean, a guarantee is not a guarantee anyway. I mean, you still got to play the game. You still have to do all the things he said. You still have to do all those things anyway. You know, it's easy. The guarantee is the easy part. The work that you have to put in is the hard part. So whether he says or not, it's not going to bother me if he said, no, we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. We're doing all these things to win this game. We're not putting anything to chance of not winning. We're going to win this game. I don't mind a coach saying that. It doesn't bother me. What more pressure was going to put more pressure on Arch Manning? He had enough pressure on him last year.
It would put more pressure on Arch Manning. Exactly. That's exactly what it would do. And he had a lot of pressure on him last year. I think that impacted him at the start of the season, don't you?
Yeah, but a year later, you think that a little bit of pressure is not going to bother him? I mean, how much more? I mean, he's kind of a guy who's been under the gun now.
Right. I don't know. You and I disagree on that one, I guess. But I'm pretty confident. And you tell me this. I mean, in the locker room, when you're playing a big game, you know, the coaches are telling the players, like, we're going to win this game. You're trying to rally your guys up. You're trying to have them confident that they're big enough for the moment. So I expect Steve Sarkisian is doing that, you know, talking to his team right now. But I don't. When the
time comes, he will be saying we're going to win the game. His team, he will be telling his team exactly the same thing that I'd like for him to be saying now. He's going to tell his team, you know, he'll be telling the week of Texas State. He'll be talking about winning the Texas State game. We'll worry about next week. But to his coaches in the meetings and stuff, it's about beating Ohio State.
Oh, of course. A lot of fall camp. I mean, you know, a lot of it's install and getting guys ready for the overall season. But then when it gets to game specific stuff, as you get closer to game one, then there's going to be some talk about Texas State. That's your first opponent. And Sark's going to play the coach speak card and say, now we're worried about them. We'll worry about the Buckeyes next week. But yeah, they've been game planning for Ohio State since the game against Michigan went final. And a lot of what's going to happen over the next month, I mean, fall camp starts 1 week for tomorrow. A lot of what's going to happen
it'll be about week 2
and kickoff will be.
It'll be about the second week of the season.
Yeah, he's not going to say it externally, but it's going to be about finding a win in the second game of the season because he realizes the importance of that, but he's not throwing out bulletin board material when he doesn't need to.
Just have his team back him up no matter what he says.
Go out there and find a way to win. Here's more sound from Steve Sarkisian here from his SEC Media Days press conference. He was asked about the 9-game SEC schedule, obviously something that was a major talking point for folks around the conference last week. You had Eli Drinkwitz at Mizzou complaining about it. You had some coaches saying, I don't care with it. Like, we want to play the best every single year. Here was Steve Sarkisian talking about the SEC schedule that the Longhorns have in front of them in 2026.
I think this about the SEC. We've got a 9-game conference schedule. The challenge is week in and week out, making sure that our football team is mentally and physically tough enough and prepared to play, because that's what's required in this conference week in and week out. Because if you're not, you will get beat. It's not about beating us one time. It's about beating us the 9 times. That's the challenge of this conference, and that's what we will prepare our team to do. Looking forward to the opportunity. It's a heck of a schedule, and couldn't be more excited just about this team and about where I think this team can go.
I like it. I mean, it's there. We got to play it. So he
Yeah.
doesn't get the chance to make the schedule. He just knows that his team has to be prepared every week. So, I mean, a lot of those coaches that, it's nice. It's great for the fans, these great schedules, but for the coaches, they talk to their teams. They say, we got to win. And every week is a different challenge for us, but we got to win the game. So, and I don't make up the schedule. I don't get a chance to go to the commissioner and say, here's the schedule I'd like to have, Mr. Commissioner. Here you go. To Sankey. And he goes, yeah, that looks good enough, Sark. You can have that schedule. Let's move on. They don't get a chance. They just got to go coach the team.
There's a bit of a change in tune from, obviously the comments about a Big 12 team. Everybody knows was Texas Tech and their schedule earlier in the off season. But you're right. Like, there's nothing Texas can do. They joined the SEC. It wasn't Steve Sarkisian's vote to go to a 9-game conference schedule.
Right.
He doesn't pick the teams that the SEC hands in front of them. So there's nothing you can do about it. Now you got to go out there and play. And yes, it's tough. Yes, it's difficult. But as you and I have talked about it, we feel like this team has the talent to overcome a difficult schedule and still achieve the goals that we have for them this year.
No doubt about it. I see somebody. Is that
Yep.
Pat? There's Patrick.
Bucks paling early. We've got our old friend Patrick Davis, longtime Austin Sports Radio personality.
Hello,
Expert.
How's it going, guys?
Expert ball knower, expert local music knower. What else? What else do we need for the introduction here, PD?
I don't know, man. I've just been too long, so I don't remember how to do anything anymore.
No, you do. You got it down. All right, buddies. I will see you tomorrow. Folks, of course, our good friends over at Woods Comfort Systems, BK. Hey, record-breaking temperatures possibly this week. Trust in our friends over at Woods Comfort Systems because nobody does it better than those dudes. Shouldn't have any plumbing problems. Hey, the floods are gone right now, so it's all about the heat now, brother. Make sure that air conditioning's working properly. And you know what?
As long as you're not eating Taco Bell, you should be fine. As long as you're not eating any of that lettuce, your plumbing should be okay, right?
There you go. I appreciate it, Patrick. I'll see you in the morning, BK.
Hey, man.
Appreciate you, Bucky.
All right, Patrick Davis co-hosting for the remainder of the program. Good to see you, man. What's going on?
Not much. I just, working, staying around, watching sports still. That's the thing is, even though I haven't been covering sports, I haven't been doing it, I still don't watch like TV shows or movies or anything. I still just watch sports. Like, I'm still the guy. They're like, what do you know? I was like, well, I was watching Summer League. Like, why? And you're like, it's Summer League, it's something.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, what do people do when they don't watch sports? Like, how much more time would we have if we just didn't dedicate as many hours of every single day, like watching sports? That's a life that I don't really want to know, but never will know either. I don't know how people do it.
Oh, I don't know. Because I feel like those are the people that are like, I just binged a whole show. I don't have the patience for those because I tend to, like, we do sports where we guess what's going to happen and then we're always wrong. And then if you watch TV, you guess what happens and you're right most of the time.
That's true. That actually sounds kind of nice. Maybe I should be doing more of that.
Tired
of being wrong.
Yeah, no, but I like to have the unpredictability of like, oh my God, did you see that amazing play? Every once in a while you watch like a show and they'll really surprise you and it's fun and exciting. But a lot of times they'll surprise you and you're like, oh, they just killed off. When the all-star goes down and gets hurt in game 5, you're like, all right, cool. Fun rest of the season for this, isn't it?
It's the best reality TV there is. That is live sports. And you're right. Like, anytime someone watches a movie or a TV show that has a crazy twist, it becomes like the story and everybody talks about. That happens like in every sporting event ever, where there's something that you just don't expect and it totally throws you for a loop. And that's why it's the best TV that there is out there. Well, PD, would love to get your thoughts on the Longhorns, man. I mean, I know we're in the off season, but 40 days away from the start of Texas football. Steve Sarkisian going into year 6. We saw the SEC preseason poll. Texas picked number 2 behind Georgia in the conference. We'll see where the Longhorns stack up in the actual preseason AP top 25, if anybody cares. But just kind of your big thoughts and sort of what you'll be paying attention to the most with the Longhorns going into year 6 of the Steve Sarkisian era.
I mean, this is really for Sark, like the make or break. I heard you already talking earlier with Bucky, the crescendo. Is this the crescendo for Sark, or are we already on the downhill slide and we just didn't know it yet? Because either last year was the start of downhill and either we're plateauing or we're down. But if we're not competing at a very high level, and, knock on wood, there's always circumstances, right? But if everything goes as planned and we're not there, and the Arch Manning era ends with no national championships played for, no Heisman ceremonies attended, then we go, okay, that there was, we gave you all the money, we gave you, Will Muschamp now, we gave you all of these pieces, and it just kept not clicking, and it kept being a piece away. And at that point, you're not getting rid of Sark right away, clearly, but you do have to start looking towards the future and go, I mean, I don't know if you're the guy to get us there if this isn't the season. You don't have Georgia, so now you can say as much as you want to say, well, we don't want to play Ohio State, on the schedule. I get the SEC schedule is really, really hard. But I do think when you had Ohio State and Georgia, that was, okay, you're playing against two of the best teams the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
You're going to have issues on those two ones. Now you're not. You're going to have to play some really, really good teams, but you're playing one of the best teams in the last. Have that one. And then everybody, you're supposed to be on the upswing. You're supposed to be there. You got now a third-year Arch Manning who's played in games now for enough times. He's supposed to be leading this team. And it really just comes down to, can they change the mindset of everybody on this team to get out of what they were last year, which felt like a bunch of young guys treading on what happened the year before. And if you allow anybody to do that again this year, even if, some of these guys believe they can do it, or, if Cam Coleman doesn't come in with the right attitude, if, your running back core doesn't come in and understand the offensive line doesn't, it's going to be rough, because you're going first 3 weeks. You need to have some decisive wins and a really important win to start off the season, and you can't have a Florida again, or
right.
It's downhill from there.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, and I agree with you. Like, if this isn't the year for Texas under Steve Sarkisian, there's going to be a lot of folks asking, okay, will there ever be a year for Texas under Steve Sarkisian? And look, it's not like the portal's going away. It's not like the NIL well is going to run dry for Texas. Like, they will be able to put together some really, really good rosters. But, man, this roster is pretty special, man. Like, Arch Manning, it's rare to keep a quarterback like this in your program for 4 years. And having a returning starter is a big deal. Not a guy that you had to get out of the transfer portal, like a guy who knows your offense, who's been a part of it for a long time, who started a lot of games. That's a big deal. And we're also talking about one of the highest rated recruits in the history of recruiting rankings, right? To go out, you're not going to bring in 2 first-team all-conference running backs every year in the portal. There's not going to be a Cam Coleman in the portal every year. Like, you're not going to be able to assemble Patrick, I think Texas is going to have 13, 14, maybe 15 players drafted next year. Like, I fully expect them to set a school record and to have probably the most. I know Georgia's great, Ohio State's great, Oregon. I think Texas is going to have more players drafted than any other team in college football when we get to next April. These rosters don't come around every year. So when you've got all of this talent and all of this experience in the spots that Texas has the talent and experience on, I think it's absolutely fair. And this is not we got to get rid of Sark, like you said, but if it doesn't all come together this year, then you're really going to be wondering until it happens, like, is this ever going to happen?
No, because I think that's when we really go to Sark and you go, okay, you're not in charge anymore. We have to have somebody else. Like, we have to have a play caller come in. We have to have a better general manager. Like, you can't run this program with reckless abandon. Like, because so far we have trusted in Sark. Texas has fully gone in, and CDC has said, you bring in the guys you want to bring in. And if it doesn't happen now, you don't get rid of Sark, but you go, you have to collaborate. You have to have some more help. He is doing that a bit with Will Muschamp, because I think a lot of people thought he was going to give up play calling duties, or that was something that was a possibility that he might do to try and figure things out. And he went a different route and said, no, I'm doubling down on play calling, but I'm going to let that defense up a little bit more. And I had to watch PK too much. I trust Will Muschamp. So that's kind of your big change this year, to try and let him focus on some other things. But y'all were talking earlier about penalties. That's not a one coach thing. And that's not that is a overview of the whole team. You have to have a real plan to get there. We saw 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Sark said the word culture 50. If you drank every time Sark said culture in a press conference, you'd be drunk at 11 a.m. every Monday morning on those pressers. He loves saying culture. And last year, it disappeared. He didn't say it as much anymore because you couldn't see it.
Right.
And that's what the penalties get worse. There was guys lining up wrong on defense. There's guys on the snap count that don't know the snap count on the offensive line. That's guys not communicating. That's guys worried about their spot and not worried about the guy's spot next to him, not worried about everyone being on the same team and worried about winning. They're worried about the small things, and that happened too much last season. And guys were just not working together. And when I started to see that word go away, you're like, hey, we can't be losing certain things. We got to be adding. And it felt like, you just had a really young team with really young leaders, and they weren't able to just get everybody where they need to be on that side of it in the cohesion. And hopefully, I don't know if there's anybody with a better support staff to teach about culture and pulling in than Arch Manning. So hopefully that is something that he has really been able to take a hold of this season, and you're able to start putting stuff back on your shoulders. You lose Michael Taff on defense as well. That was one of your biggest culture bearers. But you have Will Muschamp. You needed to change things up. Blake Gideon comes back in. He was really good at this. So you bring in some guys that are going to be able to reinstitute that on the defensive end, completely fresh. Let Colin Simmons be the lead head on that one, of course, but have some other guys be a part of that. Hero Canoe coming back is big for that. He was a huge culture guy for Texas. But I think, to me, that's one of their biggest points is last season we just saw there wasn't cohesion. And that's what I need to see when we start playing early because, just Arch and Wingo, how great was that supposed to be? And, it took 8 games before we were like, oh, there it is. And then Wingo gets hurt or something, and you're like, it just keeps falling apart. But that cohesion needs to be there. And for Sark, that's the beginning of last season. Man, we're going to play 14 games. We're going to play 15 games. Lose that crap. So get rid of that crap. You're going to play 12 unless otherwise noted. Because last year, you didn't make the playoffs because you thought you were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. And Steve Sarkisian, he's talked about it a lot. Again, uses the word culture as much or more than any other coach in college football. But he said he felt like he let his team down last year by not starting the culture work earlier in the offseason. Okay, that sounds great. Like, that's a nice thing that you could point to. I think people like accountability, right? So the head coach, because at times after losses, it felt like Sark is like, we just didn't execute. Like, I called the right plays, but we just didn't execute the way that we were supposed. That toss sweep against Ohio State, it was a great play call. We just didn't pick up the block, and we didn't. It's like, maybe you should be accountable and look in the mirror at times. So I think a lot of people appreciated him kind of saying that, like, I screwed this thing up. I've got to make this change. But no one's going to care if the changes that you're talking about don't actually happen. If this team is not more connected and more disciplined and more communicative starting week 1 versus the 3rd month of the season, which it was in 2025.
Yeah, we've seen coaching change so much that there is no team in college football without a hole in it. Everybody's got a hole at some position, something that's not as strong as everybody else. It just is. You can't afford and put together a team that has everything. And then there's injuries that happen, and some positions you're hoping one guy will get it done, and that guy's out, and you're kind of screwed. The problem with a lot of these coaches is the old method was always put a guy on the bench, and they'll learn to listen, and they'll learn to be more disciplined. And that's kind of not really there anymore, because old school method is I got 2 other guys behind you ready to go. You don't anymore. You got 2 other guys behind him that are really good and raw. But if I'm worried about penalties, I can't go put in a guy who's played 0 snaps. Right. And just not being able to have that wealth of talent that teams used to have, I think has really hurt guys in employing discipline. But a lot of these other coaches have figured it out. So again, it's not like it's a problem where you're in the middle of the pack of all these great teams and you just need to get a little bit better. These are all problems that other teams are not really having that are competing there. We see Indiana and Kurt Cignetti. We know Kurt Cignetti's an a-hole. We all know it. It works. Yeah. He doesn't care about being liked. He cares about being respected, and he goes out there and wins. Maybe you need a little bit more of that. I like that Sark's a nice guy. I've got to meet him plenty of times. Really nice guy. But doesn't do me any good if he's not going to be the coach in 2 years, because then I don't get to know who the coach is anymore.
Right. Yeah. That's not the job. You like having a guy who wins and is a nice guy.
Yes.
You don't want to have like an Urban Meyer if you can avoid it. But the job is to.
I want you to be Mac Brown. Come back in 10 years and be the nicest guy. Do that.
Yeah. Exactly. Patrick Davis filled in for the Buck here on Bucky and BK. It's a big year, and like all in is the phrase. I know Cowboys fans are like, oh God, you hear all in, and it's like, oh, what does that mean? But the decisions that Steve Sarkisian has made, again, with the portal, with the coaching change, bringing in Will Muschamp, also getting rid of Dwayne Aquino. Remember how happy everybody was last offseason when Dwayne Aquino was brought back, and DBU days and fan favorite, and all the former players coming out singing his praises. And then 1 year into that thing, Sark's like, yeah, it didn't work. It's not the same. So he made some changes, but you're right. Like his side of the football, which has been the least consistent side of the football the last couple of years. And it's felt like in bigger games or in Texas losses, it's the offense that has shown up less than the defense. You know, he's like, I'm not making any changes here. And that's Sark going down with the ship. If the ship's going to go down, he's like, no, this is my expertise. This is my side of the football. I like the guys that I have in place working on this staff. So I'm going to get it done. If it doesn't work out for Texas this year, then, I mean, you saw it with Ohio State. Eventually, they were tired of coming up short. They forced Ryan Day to hire a play caller. They won a national championship the very following year. The question is if Steve Sarkisian would be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Or if he'd be like, you know what, I'm out the door. But this is another reason why it's such an all-in year, because of the staff changes and because Sark has doubled down, to use your verbiage, on his guys on his side of the football. That's the group that really needs to take a step, I think, for Texas to reach its goals and for people to be happy that about where this program is headed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just have to get to Sark is one of those guys that always won when he could control the line of scrimmage and run the football and then do his fun stuff. And then he is a great play caller and a great coach.
Yeah.
And last year, they could not control the line of scrimmage. They could not run the football. And when that disappears, all the fun stuff Sark likes to do kind of disappears with it. And that's when we get into a ton of screen passes, a ton of other stuff, get the ball out quick, because they're able to just line up and start coming after your quarterback. You have to get back into that game. And to me, that's kind of really week one. Watching the thing I'm watching the most is, you know, a lot of people are higher than I am on our new running backs. I think both running backs are good. I don't know if we got I don't think we have a monster. I think we got two really good running backs, but without a monster in the SEC, just old school thinking, you have to have a monster. You have to have somebody that's 4 yards. No, 4 yards. Oh, they stopped him for 2. That's a great play. And if we don't have that worries me a little bit more, because we just haven't had that the last few years. And goal line stands, everything else, red zone has been such an issue, because we just haven't had, since Bijan, really that monster guy that you just go, I think we get 5 yards. I think we get 5. I'm not worried about it, really. And I think we've had too many now where you have to do so many pieces to get those 5. And now we have 2 running backs that, if we get 5, could be 50.
Yeah.
But I just need that 5 consistently. And that's going to be the game. That's going to be the biggest part of, against Texas State, against a team that's going to be ready to go. Are we able to really average, take out your big over 20-yard runs? Are we able to average over 5 yards a carry?
Yeah. No, that's a huge key, because last year, obviously, Ohio State was week 1. Texas ran the ball like better than I expected them to against Ohio State. But then weeks 2 and 3 against San Jose State and UTEP, like the O-line was getting pushed. And it's like, uh-oh. This is a pro. We got a lot tougher teams than San Jose State and UTEP coming up, and Texas wasn't able to establish their dominance up front, and they couldn't get the ground game going at all. So, yeah, Texas State, of course, you want to win that game by a lot. There will be a lot of people who care about the cover, whether or not that happens, but there's got to be some eye tests, and there's got to be some individual stats that, like, at least, again, you win that game by 50, everyone's going to say it's just Texas State. Who cares? Do it against somebody real. But there are things. We were all very concerned with the offensive line watching them play against San Jose State and UTEP.
Yeah.
We were all very concerned with the running game. Like, if you can't block, if you can't run, that's going to be an issue the rest of the way. It sure enough was an issue the rest of the way. So you've got to see some things that at least give you some confidence that, all right, no, we fixed those problems that plagued us way too often a season ago. I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, yeah, they did, and Trey Wisner did well in some games, and we looked decent in those games. And I mean, Ohio State's the anomaly. We watched that together last year, and I don't think any of us expected Arch Manning to play worse than, I don't know, any Texas quarterback I've watched in a long time. I mean, just putting balls in the ground where you're like, can I watch that replay 7 or 8 more times till I figure out what happened?
Yeah, it had to be tipped, right? Like, he's too good. There's no way he's gonna.
And that game was just, Arch wasn't ready. I mean, we can go quick and easy on that one. That they had a good game plan everywhere else, but again, that game didn't cost us the season. Florida did.
Yeah,
and so when you go into where you can't have those let-ups is, are you able to consistently run the football all season? Are you consistently able to control the line of scrimmage defensively all season? Because it doesn't get easier when you get in the playoffs, but you may have the big game. If Ohio State, we run for 150 and then the next week run for 75, I'm still worried.
Yeah. It's got to be week to week. And that's the identity. That's the backbone of the Steve Sarkisian offense. Everybody thinks it's those big highlight reel plays, but go back to that 2020 Alabama offense, like Najee Harris being as good as he was, opened all that stuff up for Mac Jones and Devontae Smith and all the other weapons that they had out there. So that's the key. The hope is the guys, they did go after Jaden Ball, who my guess is, Patrick, you think is one of those, dudes. They couldn't get him. Florida ponied up. They kept him in Gainesville.
Yeah, I mean, good call, Florida.
Good call by them. I like the pivot for Texas. I think I'm higher on the running backs than you are, but that's whoever it is. And maybe Derek Cooper, the freshman 5-star, is a part of the equation too. Whoever it is, they've got to find a way. And having Arch Manning obviously helps too. That's another weapon, another guy who could pick up yards with his legs. But that is the area of the offensive side of the football that I think without question needs to get better for Texas. We'll dive back in. Plenty more Longhorn football conversation. We'll also get Patrick. Patrick's a huge NBA guy, big Longhorn basketball guy too. We might need to get your thoughts on what Sean Miller's putting together.
Crazy.
But before we go anywhere else, a couple of quick sponsor shout outs here, starting with Altstadt Beer. My choice should be yours as well. The best beer that you could find all throughout the great state of Texas, brewed locally in Fredericksburg. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. My personal favorite, the lager. They've got a great Kolsch. They've got a Pils. They've got a Hefeweizen, a good light beer, something for every palate. And Altstadt's easy to find. Your favorite bars, your favorite restaurants, grocery stores, and liquor stores, pretty much wherever you get your beer, you can find Altstadt. This is award-winning stuff coming from an award-winning brewery. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets. A shout out to them. And also some love to our friends at Early Bird CBD, a local Austin company that makes products designed to make you feel good. They've got gummies, they've got drops, they've got tinctures. They're formulated with CBD, but also a micro dose of THC as well. So if you're getting drug tested at work, maybe not for you, but if you're looking to take the edge off, relax a little bit, Early Bird CBD, definitely for you. I take them to unwind. I take them to help me fall asleep. I've been traveling. I take them on planes to relax me when I'm sleeping in random beds. I was in an air mattress this weekend. Not supposed to be good. Early Bird CBD, I was out like a light. No problem. Love this stuff. Give it a go. Earlybirdcbd.com is the website. The promo code Bucky, you're going to get 20% off your first order from our great friends at Early Bird CBD. All right.
What are you still doing on an air mattress? What are you still doing? Too old for that now, man.
Dude, I mean, bachelor party this weekend and, renting an Airbnb. It's 12 guys in one Airbnb and there's never enough beds.
There's not. No, I've shared beds though. I'm too old. I'll share a bed. Ain't nothing happening. We're going to pass out and we're going to lay down, but I can't do the air mattress anymore. That wake up in the air mattress when you feel yourself like in the middle and you're touching the floor, it's just deflated enough overnight. I can't do that anymore.
I think I woke up 3 times to inflate the mattress in the middle of the night. I was going down and there weren't I would have done that too, but I was the last guy there, which always is the mistake. Cause if you get to the house, first,
I hate that.
Your choice to the bed. But when you're the last one there, it's whatever's left.
Oh, man.
And that was what was left.
No, I hate that. I hate that immensely. Yeah. When we get the call, it's like, hey, man, everyone's getting out there. It's like, y'all don't got jobs or nothing? Y'all just get out there at 1 p.m.? Come on, give me a break.
Exactly. Yeah, the Airbnbs, it's like Nick Saban. They got the host in front saying, you can't come in. You can't check in early. And they're just waiting there for hours to get the first choice of bed. No one works. But yeah, air mattress, not fun. Do not recommend.
No.
And I'm hurting a little bit a couple of days later.
I feel you, man. I hurt just laying in my regular bed.
Yeah.
If I do that too much.
starting to get there too. All right, Patrick Davis filled in for the Buck today. I want to talk some basketball with you too. I'll kind of give it to you. If you want to start with the Longhorns, you're a huge Spurs guy. I'm sorry to bring it up, but your thoughts on the Spurs and the direction of them, and of course LeBron going to the Sixers. You want to go pro first, or do you want to go college first today?
We can go college first. We'll go college. We'll get to pro. I mean, because we can start off with what Sean Miller has done, which I will give Sean Miller credit for this. He is not being complacent and just saying, I can keep this Texas job for 8 years. All I got to do is make the tournament, make Sweet 16 every third year. I'll be here. And I'll get paid plenty of money to do it. And I'll be happy, live in Austin, Texas, have a great time, and I can do it and make a run. In his second season, he realized, I said a lot last year, that I thought that he walked in and really just let it stay and like didn't really come in prepared for what he was going to see, that the lineup you had just wasn't going to be good enough to go compete at a high level. And, you know, he got a lot out of him late in the season. It never really fully clicked the way you felt it needed to. But, you know, to go out now and just really try and go make a recruiting class, he's please put his stick on it. You keep Voikatitis, who is one of those guys that you're like, if he just a couple things he figures out, he could be really good. If he could pass the basketball, he'd be so good.
Yeah, when a double team comes, you don't need to keep dribbling. You don't need to shoot it. Just someone's open. If there are two guys on you, somebody else is going to be open, Modest. Yeah,
Modest. He's a big dude. I saw him out at we were watching a Spurs game, and the Texas basketball team was out at where I was at. And he see him, and you're just like, yeah, it's when you see those big dudes, you're like, yeah, that dude, I get what you can do, but pass the ball, just get the hands a little bit better than he'll do. And so, you know, Sean Miller, I'm giving him all the credit in the world. He has gone out there, he raised the funds, something that you know, we know that Rodney Terry was not really able to do. I think Chris Beard probably would have been able to do it by, you know, a couple of years. He, you know, a lot of the money he raised went into the Moody Center and those kind of things. So I think Chris Beard could have done it, but of course there's other problems with that one. But Sean Miller went out and raised the money and got more money into Texas basketball. It's been there in a long time. So, you know, hats off to him for that. And now it's, can you put it all together? You know, I'm interested to see with the couple of young guys they've got to reclassify. That's a really interesting piece for football and for basketball. That, I mean, it's really hard to be 17 or so and trying to play with guys that are now in 23, 24 years old and still playing college basketball. I don't know how much they're going to be able to do that. But, you know, this is going to be a team that you look at and say, this is a team now you feel should be able to compete in the SEC to at least be a top 4 or 5 team in the SEC. And I didn't think we had that in us last year. So if you're saying you can be a top 4 or 5 team in the SEC, then who knows what the ceiling really is? Because once you get going, if anybody's able to step up, if, you know, if Austin Gooseby turns out to be really, really good, if Bo Ogden turns out to be really, really good, you never know with high school players. You know, Bo Ogden's able to actually play minutes for you this season. Again, coming right out of high school, a guy that really hasn't played defense at the level he's going to have to play defense at is what I think is kind of more the issue with a lot of these guys is, you know, it's fine. Bo Ogden's going to be able to come in and shoot threes. But if he's allowing threes and dunks on the other end, he can't play until he gets that defensive game up. So if you're able to figure out that defensive side of the basketball, then I think the offense for next season is going to be really, really good. You just can't constantly be playing off of made shots.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts on that. The other thing Modest needs to improve on, and I think I cut you off there. I feel like you were about to say this. He needs to stop fouling so much. He needs to be able to stay on the floor and stay out of foul trouble because he is a very, very good player. And people are talking about him as a potential first-round pick in the NBA. I think there's a lot that needs to be polished and cleaned up for that to happen, but clearly he's got some great natural ability, and he's got a nice set of moves for a guy at his stage in his development. You know, preseason polls are preseason polls.
I'll address this too real quick, though. 100 free throws a day. By the way, he's not a bad free throw shooter. He got the yips. If you go back and watch I went back because when he started to be awful at the end of last season, I went back and watched early in the season. I was like, I don't remember him being this bad. And he had correct form. And then, like, near the end of the season, it was half and half. And his form just was off half of the time. And then he'd be back again and fine. He's had the yips. Get rid of the yips, and he's an okay free throw shooter.
Yeah, he was over 70% for most of the year, and then in the month of March, it all fell apart. The yips make sense. Preseason polls are what they are, but I'm curious to see where Texas basketball ends up. Like, Florida's going to be number 1 in this league. I don't think there's any doubt, but I think number 2, like Arkansas's there, Kentucky's always there. Like, there are other really, really good teams in this league, but I'm curious to see what the rest of the press thinks about Texas. And then I love what you said. Look, basketball is third fiddle for the men's sports at Texas. It just is. We know what football is and always is in this state. We know the history of Texas baseball. Basketball is number 3. And you're right. It's felt like, just be solid. We don't need to be a Duke or a Kentucky or a Kansas. Like, we don't need to be that type of team. We're not going to have that type of expectations. Just don't be an embarrassment. Don't be an embarrassment to the school, and that'll be enough for you to keep your job. And Sean Miller's like, no, it's not really my MO. Like, I realize what I have. If I do this right, I've got the nicest arena in the country. I've got a ton of money, great facilities. There's a lot of really good basketball players in the state of Texas who I can maybe convince to stay home at Texas. Like, if I really do this right, this could be the team that I finally get to a Final Four with, that elusive Final Four. And this could be my national championship chance. Like, he's not doing, it's basketball, who cares? It's an all-in. He is treating this thing, and I don't think it's a one-year deal. I think every single year he's going to try to put together a roster that people around the country are like, oh God, Texas did that.
Yeah. I mean, part of this is CDC too, because CDC, they built this new arena, and I was buying tickets last season for under $10, and they don't want that. That's not okay, and that's because your team wasn't winning. Your team's not winning. People aren't going. They're going to start selling cheaper tickets so they can sell concessions. It's the reality of the industry. And I think they're like, man, we got to go spend some money on this roster. And then we need to get where we have these games where people are going to spend a bunch of money, and season tickets are going to be sold out, and people are going to be coming to every game, because if this is going to be can't miss basketball. That's why you brought in Sean Miller. He plays an exciting style of basketball. He coaches an exciting style of basketball. And they just weren't able to do it last year at all. But, I mean, Texas gets to have that fun part on both sides, football and basketball. Guys reclassifying, coming in super young. Yep. And then you got Cole Hudson and Jordan Pope trying to hang on for one more year. And so you don't know what's going to happen, what's going to be happening next season. But there's definitely a lot of exciting stuff that's happening in basketball. But yeah, I think this is a team that a lot of people are going to be high on, and it's going to be a really hard part for Sean Miller to play in those expectations and realize early on there's still a lot of team building you have to do, because basically no one's played together.
Yeah, it's a bunch of new guys, right? And chemistry is going to be really important. And look, Texas basketball, they've got some tough non-conference games, but they got 8 bye games in there. They scheduled some cupcakes in an effort, I think, for Sean Miller to be able to build that chemistry. Like, hey, by the time we get to SEC play and the more important parts of the season, we got to have everybody like aligned and comfortable and confident. Yeah. So we're going to test out some kinks, or try to iron out some kinks against some bad teams. I know for season ticket holders, it's like, really? We got 8 games against Gardner-Webb? But for the coach, I understand the strategy in doing something like that with this many new faces, PD.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you just have to. And I mean, every season now, it's about building up your team. I know iron forges iron and all of that. It helps, but you want to have a few of those, because also you're talking about, you dropped 3 of those games early in the season. Team's kind of counted out. Everyone's kind of down, starting to figure out problems. They're already looking for who's going to replace you. Like, you know what, man, let's get to conference play. The SEC is a pretty deep conference. The Big 12 is a really deep conference. You're not getting so many bye weeks in conference play when you're playing in a decent enough conference. We're going to play enough tough games to get where we need to be. Let's put in some preseason in here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you agree with me on that. I think it's ridiculous. It's not like Texas is playing nobody out of conference too. There's a lot of teams with way easier non-conference schedules than Texas basketball does, but you'll take some wins. And again, you're trying to put the pieces together to build a team that can make a deep run in March. So having some tune-ups is not a bad thing at all.
No, and I got to let my 9th, 10th, 11th guy get some playing time.
Yeah.
They're not getting in all these other games.
You're right. You got to build some depth too. That all matters. Patrick Davis filling in for the Buck here on Bucky and BK. The NIL, man. guys want to start NIL as quick as they can, and they want to stick around and get NIL as long as they can. They got 17-year-olds, you got 25-year-olds all trying to play college sports for as long as they can. It's the best time ever to be a college athlete. There's no doubt about that. Moving over to the NBA, though, PD, you're a big Spurs fan, big NBA guy in general. You're talking about the summer league. Like, I know you're locked in on that every single year. But we'll start with the Spurs, and then we'll branch out to some of the big headlines from the offseason and kind of get your thoughts on what your expectations are, very early expectations are for the upcoming season. For the Spurs, like, where are you with the Spurs right now? Obviously disappointing. You go on that crazy run, you beat Oklahoma City, but to get to the finals as a favorite and to lose in 5 games, not fun. Feels like a lot of the sentiment, though, around Spurs fans is like, oh, like, we're fine. We're ahead of schedule. We'll be back. Yeah. It's all good. What are you confident that, hey, this was just the start of what could be a very special, borderline dynastic run for San Antonio potentially coming?
You learn enough that you never want to let an opportunity slip through your fingers. Like, you kind of felt like, even if you don't win that series, it should have been a better series. You should have cut a 1 or 2 or more of those games and let it start pushing a little bit more. And so that's kind of the disappointing part. Was it just felt like it started to fall apart. There was guys who didn't really show up when they needed to in their moments. It felt like the team was really, really tired. And this is a New York team that was pretty well rested at that point. They, and look, this is a New York team that was been put together of guys really, like, you're talking about OG Anunoby was one of the better players on the Raptors, and Mikal Bridges was the best player on the Nets, and Karl Anthony Towns the best player on the Timberwolves. You're like, they got the best player off of several teams and put them all together. They're going to be really good. So, it's not like you're not mad. And the reality is what you said, they're ahead of schedule. This was supposed to be a playoff team this year that was good. And you started to push the envelope a little bit more. You see Wemby start to have those really great games. Once he's able to put away a little bit more of being as emotional in the game. You still want to be emotional. You still want him to care, but he makes some emotional mistakes, pushes a little too hard at times, tries to save the game, and he shouldn't. Now, he's hitting half-court shots and everything else to get you in and win games. So you can't, you need to have that. But there's a little bit of that just comes with time of doing it. So, at the end of the day, I'm not, I'm happy that we're in the right place. I'm happy that the Spurs don't freak out and go try to make some huge move and blow up a core that could be around for a bunch of years to get rid of it. We see Wemby take $50 million less than he could. Love to see that as a fan. Yeah. I know a lot of people are like, take your money. Wemby's always going to be on a different path than a lot of other guys. One of the things you notice, Wemby doesn't have any energy drinks or sports drink sponsors because he believes they're bad for kids. So he just doesn't take them. He's like, y'all should drink water.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that kind of does that. But like Shohei Ohtani is, he's a international star.
Oh, yeah.
He can make enough money. And so when he says, I want to win, and I was really bad on the Spurs were bad for a couple of years, and that sucked. You know how much money I would pay to not suck? $50 million.
Yeah.
So there it is.
Yep. He's awesome. He's awesome. And I'm with you, man. I feel like the Spurs are obviously positioned for great things for a long time. And I thought like play-in was sort of the goal. I don't know if goal, but like the expectation for
play-in
me
was
for
a goal
San
a year
Antonio.
ago. Last year was supposed to be the playoffs. You're supposed to progress, and especially Dylan Harper. Once you see who Dylan Harper is, you're like, okay, well, that upgrades everything. Because Dylan Harper now, you're like, oh, his ceiling is like a top 5 player in the NBA. I don't know if he's gonna be there, but his ceiling is there.
He's so good, and the core is so good, and there's so many reasons for optimism for San Antonio that I think as long as guys stay healthy, obviously you have to ask the question. And look, it was good to see Wemby get through a full season last year. That's a concern with a guy that size. But the talent there is ridiculous, and the fact that those guys are so young and green, it feels like San Antonio is going to be a problem for the rest of the NBA for a long, long time. What about the LeBron thing, PD? Obviously, late last week, LeBron James announces he ends the long delay. He announces he's going to Philadelphia for what we assume to be his final contract. Now it's LeBron. You never know. But a lot of people now picking the 76ers as the favorites to win the NBA championship next year. Obviously, the big Jaylen Brown trade earlier in the offseason. Are you that level with Philly, or do you still think they're playing catch up with teams like the Spurs and the Knicks and maybe Oklahoma City as well?
I don't think they're playing catch up with anybody, but are they going to be healthy and ready at the end of the season? Like, do they mesh? It's a really hard thing to have Tyrese Maxey, who just had his second All-Star appearance this season and is really like set to be, well, we know Embiid's never really going to be healthy. This is kind of your team now, Tyrese Maxey. Sorry, we said that you're option 4 now.
Yeah.
That's hard to go for some guys. VJ Edcombe, first team all rookie. Great rookie season. Shining Stars rookie, the Rising Stars rookie MVP, right? Having a great season. Supposed to be a guy. Yep. Hey, bud, 5th option. Pass and play defense, man. Shoot some threes. You're not going to have the ball in your hand pretty much at all this season. Now, you're going to have the ball in your hands in the games when Embiid and LeBron don't play. But, I mean, we know Jaylen Brown's going to want to score, and we know that Joel Embiid, when he plays, is the best player still out of those 5. Because Joel Embiid, when he plays and he's healthy, is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So, like, when he's on the court, you go, okay, the goal is to get the ball to Joel Embiid and let him put up 60 a game. Like, he's that kind of player. But then you go, okay, well, now when he's off, it's kind of Jaylen Brown who's going to take the lead in it. But is Tyrese Maxey going to be okay with that? Because Tyrese Maxey was a dude who was carrying us for the last couple seasons to the playoffs when everybody else is hurt and not really playing. I know you're happy. I mean, if I'm VJ Edcombe and Tyrese Maxey, I'm probably happy that Paul George is not there. Probably fine getting rid of Paul George for Jaylen Brown. That gives me a better chance to win. But yeah, you add LeBron and it becomes, does everybody's ego get there? Are the young guys okay having 2 more veterans walk in with NBA championship rings, telling them this is the way you got to do it? Or do they go, man, this isn't fun anymore?
Right.
And
how does it work?
And that's it. Can you be happy in game 75 of the season and be ready to go? Because if they're ready to go game 75, which is completely possible, then yeah, they're probably the favorites to go on if they're healthy and ready to go in game 75. Yeah. But if they get there and we're already having problems and Nick Nurse is, already on the hot seat because LeBron James thinks he's a jerk and they want to bring in whoever he's doing a podcast with, then like all of that stuff, I think I think it's not a huge chance, but there's probably a 10% chance LeBron gets traded at the trade deadline. I think it's still a chance because if everything goes poorly and they're not happy and Joel Embiid's pretty much out for a long time and, the Jaylen Brown, LeBron relationship with Tyrese Maxey isn't great, they go, man, send me to New York.
Man, that'll be something to watch. Yeah, I think the 2 biggest questions for Philadelphia, can everybody stay healthy when they need to be? Like, no one's expecting Joel Embiid to play 70 games this season, but can he be right? Like you said, in game 75 as we get closer to the playoffs. LeBron's going to load manage this year. Okay, that's fine. Can he be right when you're approaching the postseason? And also, there's one ball. Yeah. I mean, like these guys are all so ball dominant. They're ball stoppers. Yeah. Dude, like Embiid, you give him the ball and he's just going to go to work. Like LeBron, obviously later in his career, he's always been a great passer. Now he knows he can be a 3rd string or a 4th string option, but he's still LeBron. Like he still has a huge ego. He wants to get his. Maxey's a ball dominant player. That guy shoots 25 to 30 times a game. It seems like Jaylen Brown, obviously the same thing. So it's a tough job for Nick Nurse. I mean, so much of a job of an NBA coach, Patrick, is managing and massaging egos and just making sure everybody's okay. That's tough to do with like any roster that you have. But when you've got all of these guys, all the MVPs and the championships and the podcast and the Twitch streams and all the tweets, like all of these guys do a lot to bring attention to themselves. When you've got all of these personalities together, how do you find a way to make it all work before these dudes end up wanting to rip each other's heads off?
I will tell you, there's going to be some really great fast break dunks going the other way against these guys, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know who's going back on a fast break. I don't know who's running back on that one.
It'll be VJ Edgecombe. It'll be 5-on-1 for the other team with VJ Edgecombe back there. Yeah. So it'll be fun to watch. I hate that it's Philly because I don't want their
Philly.
fans
no one
to
likes
have a good time.
Yeah, the fact Philadelphia should also not like LeBron James that he picked Philly because it's close to New York.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not living there. He don't want to deal with those people. No chance.
That is the craziest. Like, that's like someone going, man, I can't wait for the play for the Spurs. Austin's a great city.
I think it's worse than that. I think
I
it's
mean,
like,
it is
I
worse
don't
than that, but I mean, like, it's still like that's the thing where you like people in San Antonio be like, what?
know.
How are you gonna treat our city like that? You're gonna risk flying a helicopter 80 times a year?
That
I
was
wouldn't do
that was
that.
the, that was the only reason I thought LeBron maybe wouldn't end up in Philly, because he just didn't want to deal with those people. And
No,
that's
and
what
he's like,
they
cool,
are.
I'm living in New
Those
York.
people. And yeah, like he found a way to not have to deal with him.
No, that is the funniest thing about the Spurs losing to the Knicks in the playoffs. Knicks win, LeBron's a Knick this year. Or late
Oh,
Spurs
100%.
win, LeBron's a Knick. It's done.
100%.
That's where he wanted to go. That was the plan before. That was the plan all along. And then they won.
Then they won. Now he's got to go to Philly, but hey, still gets to live in New York. So that's the next best thing. Oh, man. Patrick, this was fun, man. Really, really appreciate you jumping on for the Buck today, man.
Appreciate you having me, man. It's fun to do it with you always.
Yeah. Patrick Davis joining me here on Bucky and BK. Anything to promote? Anything you want to mention?
If you need a locksmith, call Zach's Mobile Locksmith. You'll sometimes have me come out and fix your house. Unlock your house.
There you go. Okay. That works. You're the man. Hopefully we get the chance to do this again soon. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. The Buck and I will be back tomorrow. But y'all have a great rest of your Monday, and we will talk to y'all soon.